Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, bed crimers. As always, I wish you the best. To anyone new here, a warm welcome. Thank you for checking out my channel. Let me just ask that after listening to or watching this video, if you learned something or enjoyed it, please do me a favor and smash that like button. Now, let's dig in. Yesterday, in court testimony from the Lori Vallow case, we heard exactly how Lori's 7-year-old son, JJ Vallow, died, and how he and his big sister Tylee Ryan were found buried on Chad Daybell's property. It was disturbing and painful to hear. I can only imagine how traumatized the jurors are because they were shown photos of the kids' bodies and their burial sites. While both of Lori's children were miserably treated and betrayed by the adults they trusted, Tylee's body was more desecrated than JJ's. JJ's body, like Tylee's, seemed to have been shown a modicum of respect. This is a good point at which to let you know that I'm going to be talking about some graphic details, so if you find that upsetting, now would be a good time to stop listening. 7-year-old JJ was found buried under a tree. I believe that in cemeteries, grave sites under trees are considered more desirable than those under the glaring sun. Below a tree, the soul buried there can enjoy a shady repose for all eternity. I think it's significant that JJ was under the tree, and I think it may have been some sort of symbolic gesture by one or more of his executioners. 16-year-old Tylee was also discovered in the Daybell's yard. However, her remains were in the family's pet cemetery. Tylee's remains were not carefully placed in bags. They were found in pieces, simply chucked in the ground with the Daybell's deceased pets. She was discarded like a dead raccoon. Forensic pathologist Dr. Garth Warren said that JJ died of asphyxia by plastic bag and duct tape. His hands and ankles were bound by duct tape, and a piece of duct tape was also placed over his mouth. Adding to the horror of all this, abrasions on his neck suggest that JJ may have been trying to remove the bag over his head. There was also suspicious bruising on his ankles that may be associated with the duct tape and a struggle. It sounds like whoever did this did not even try to lessen JJ's distress by giving him something that would knock him out. If JJ could reach up to try and remove the tape and the bag, he wasn't unconscious. But there is a positive side, if you can even say that, to all this duct tape at this point anyway. According to Joseph Scott Morgan, who appeared on News Nation today, all that duct tape may play a critical role in the trial. Morgan said that the duct tape may provide evidence as to who exactly put it around JJ's neck, wrists, and ankles. Morgan pointed out that you cannot wear plastic gloves when you apply duct tape. He also said that it's very likely that the applier left a plastic fingerprint on the sticky side of the tape. Maybe a bite mark from biting the tape, maybe some hair and clothing fibers. Take a listen.
It is one of the most rich forensic tools out there. Just start with the sticky side. Tell me what could be on that in JJ's case.
An incredible amount of evidence, Ash. Happen to have the piece here. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate this to you. Hair, fiber, sloughed skin cells. But here's the most important part. I'm going to lay a term on you you might not have heard tonight in the audience as well. It's something we refer to as plastic prints. Now, you think about the smooth side, we think about leaving a fingerprint behind, but that's from oil. Here, we leave plastic prints. If you press down into the tape and you pull it away, you can actually leave a print in the adhesive. And what's significant about this, it's much more resilient. There's a high probability that whoever did this, that used this tape, didn't wear gloves to do it. You know why? Because it's impossible to manage tape with gloves on. So there's a high probability that they may have left a plastic print in this tape And the beauty of this, if there can be beauty in this situation, is the fact that you've got feet, not inches, feet of tape.
Joseph Scott Morgan also said that the tape will also have unique striations in it that may be linked to duct tape if any was found in the possession of Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, or Chad Daybell. The experts will be able to look at the duct tape on JJ and compare it to any duct tape possibly found at one or more of these three people's residences and see if there is a match. All the duct tape from a particular manufacturing batch will have the same striations. Let's hope the trace evidence experts bear all this out and let us know who exactly applied the duct tape to JJ. When investigators found JJ's body, he was still wearing his red pajamas and was in a plastic bag nestled in the earth. Above him were dirt, 2 wood planks, and what were described as precisely placed rocks. Whoever buried JJ was trying to, 1, keep the grave from sinking in and thus creating a hollow that investigators who might show up could see, and 2, trying to keep predatory animals who can smell such things from digging the body up. Some thought and care went into JJ's burial. He appeared to have been gently placed in the ground. His arms were also crossed over his chest. Tylee's cause of death was determined to be homicide, but the forensic pathologist was unable to determine her means of death. The reason why the means of death could not be determined is partially due to her being found in pieces. Someone dismembered her. In addition, parts of her body had been burned. This is what you call desecration of a body. In addition to all that, some of her bones showed signs of sharp jabs. These were apparently jabs not required to dismember the body. One of the areas that had such additional cuts was Tylee's pelvis bone. Listen to what Lauren of Hidden True Crime said about the testimony pertaining to these cuts.
The photo of her, what is it called, like her hip bones, her entire hip bone area with a few spine vertebrae still connected, and that was heartbreaking to see. But what was also interesting is this where a lot of the sharp trauma focused. They would imply that it was not normal, it was abnormal for a dismembering, if that makes sense. These are all very technical terms, but they're saying this is not the stab wounds. They didn't call them stab wounds, they called them sharp wounds or marks. They're using the technical terms, but I'm going to call them stab wounds. Were not made in places, they said, that were typical for in an attempt to dismember somebody.
Whoever did this to Tylee subjected her to overkill, in a sense, and clearly was venting extreme rage. It reminds me of the crime in Moscow, Idaho. It also feels like this particular region, the pelvis bone, was targeted for a reason. I can't help feeling that there is some sort of sexual symbolism in this person or persons stabbing Tylee in the pelvis and doing it with such ferocity that it went entirely through the bone. In my gut, I believe a male inflicted those deep cuts on Tylee, whether it was the alleged family hitman, Alex Cox, the man upon whose land the bodies were found, Chad Daybell, or someone else, I don't know. I mean, it could have been Lori Vallow, but would she have had the strength? The weapon may have been a machete or an axe. Could Lori wield that as well as a male? Maybe. I'm not saying women aren't capable of great feats of strength. I'm just wondering about Lori Vallow's strength and her agility when handling such weapons. Lauren of Hidden True Crime also interviewed Lori's cousin, Megan Connor, who said that Lori was a very manipulative person and that she, Megan, doesn't believe that Lori was coaxed into these crimes if she's guilty of them, but rather that she was likely the instigator. This makes me think that Lori expressed her anger at JJ and Tylee to a male, who then attacked their bodies in an act of revenge. Lori told her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, that she no longer wanted JJ and Tylee.
Or anything. Today she said with Gabe on the phone, come take the kids. I don't care what happens to them. Come take them.
It sounds like Lori was either burned out on parenting a child with special needs and a 16-year-old daughter who probably had a mind of her own, or she wanted to devote all of her time to making doomsday plans with Chad Daybell. Or maybe Lori was both burned out and she suddenly decided she had other more important tasks to devote her time to. You may recall that she told the police, who came to do a welfare check on JJ, that she raised 5 kids with Charles Vallow and did everything right and was a good mom. I got the feeling Lori was trying to justify whatever she may have done to JJ and Tylee in a way to the police without admitting it. Like she's saying, I've been such a good mom up until now that I get a free pass for this digression. I also feel that Lori did not want to come out and admit to her family and church members that she was no longer interested in being a mom to JJ and Tylee. She knew that the commitment she'd made to those kids to be their mom wasn't yet over. JJ was only 7, and he would need many more years of parenting from her. Tylee was 16, about to turn 17, but still 1 year away from being 18. To admit you no longer are going to care for your kids is not a good look. Lori spent a lot of time trying to appear perfect. Her cousin, Megan Connor, said that in the Cox family home, one's beauty and attractiveness were valued above all other qualities, and Lori's father, Barry, felt his family was superior in both looks and intelligence.
You know, I mean, there's this whole dynamic from Barry that he's above the law. He's better than everyone else. And I will tell you, the most pervasive thing that runs throughout the cult of Cox is this concept of the lower 95. We heard this all the time from Barry, where he would say, it basically meant he would make an offhanded comment about somebody doing something stupid, and he would say, well, that's the lower 95. And what he meant was that 95% of the population are stupid, arrogant, lazy, ugly, and the other 5% are the successful ones and the smart ones and the beautiful people. And he absolutely considered himself and his family to be in that top 5%. And that theme came up all the time. It was what drove all of their thoughts and opinions, that they were more beautiful than everyone else.
Is it possible that for Lori, having a daughter like Tylee, who wasn't rail thin, was problematic or a disappointment? Did Tylee, in her mother's eyes, fail to meet the Cox requirements of being better looking than everyone else? Please do not get me wrong. I think Tylee was beautiful in every which way as is. I'm just wondering if in her mother's eyes, Tylee fell short in this department because of her weight. By the way, Tylee had a lot of Pinterest boards. Some were dedicated to makeup application, others were about getting the perfect beach hair, still others were about losing weight and exercising. These Pinterest boards seem to indicate that Tylee was wanting to get the perfect beach hair and maybe the perfect beach body too, whatever that is. She was definitely thinking about her physical beauty and her body. We also learned from the testimony this week that Tylee suffered from anxiety and panic attacks, which is no surprise given all the drama her mother exposed her to, starting at a very young age. But could Tylee have also been receiving spoken or unspoken messages from her mother that said, Tylee, you're not okay as is? If Lori set these beauty standards for herself, she probably tried to impose them on her daughter as well. Which brings me to wondering if part of the rage inflicted on Tylee's body was linked to her failure to meet her mother's expectations of beauty and body perfection. Could Lori have felt repulsed by Tylee because she wasn't towing the family line? Did Lori see what she perceived to be her own imperfections in her daughter somehow? Why do you think Tylee's body was desecrated in this manner? Who do you think is behind it? And where did all that rage come from? Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories, hey, do me a favor, smash that like button with all the words and graphic descriptions. This video is definitely not getting monetized.